Hector Bellerin looks as if he could be on the move sooner than expected, and Lucas Torreira could join him. We are enthralled with more transfer information in today's show, and I'm looking forward to discussing all of it with you. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, a show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, transfer information rife as always, and we're going to break it down with the latest information and obviously talk to you guys in our chat box about all of it as well. And today has been, I thought this was going to be a quiet day, to be honest. I thought this was going to be a sit back, relax, talk about a little bit of a debating topic because a little bit of slow news day, but no. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, things decide to kick into gear and news is released regarding Hector Bellerin's agent coming out and speaking. And then news started to surface about Fiorentina's interest in Lucas Torreira stepping up as well. So we're going to get your thoughts in the chat box in regards to both these pieces of news and break them down and give you the most inside thoughts about them as well. So starting off with Hector Bellerin, what we should probably do is what we always like to do is have a look at our good friend Z. Z over on Twitter. I mean, I always say this, if you're not following him, you should be. Because what I like about Z is he never posts anything himself as if it's just his information. It comes from sources. He quotes where the source is from. And you can have a look at what's been going on in regards. He takes all his information from quotes from elsewhere. And that's ultimately really great. So let's have a look in terms of what Hector Bellerin has been saying, his agent anyway, in terms of whether his client will join Arsenal. Supposedly he has said, we will see. And then in regards to actually asking whether there is a good chance that he'll join PSG, he says, yes, of course, there is a good chance. And And you can see there with the poll underneath that, I voted no, given how openly his representatives is discussing a potential move to PSG, suggests a deal could be close. Are Arsenal making a mistake in regards to selling Hector Bellerin? And I don't think they are, personally. I think that we can survive without Hector Bellerin. I think that money can be reinvested into the midfield. And it's, for me, I'm okay with it because I have confidence in Ainsley Maitland-Niles. A lot less confidence in Cedric. I'm going to be very, very honest with that. But I just feel that we have enough that we could sacrifice a Bellerin in order to ensure that we bring in a Thomas Partey. I feel the impact of losing Bellerin and gaining a Thomas Partey is immeasurable. Like, it's just such a gulf in terms of how much it improves us to what we lose with Bellerin. And what's another thing is that if we look at the partnership between Hector Bellerin and Pepe, we know that it's just not quite there. And if you're having Mainsley at right back and behind Pepe, I feel that combination has worked better than what we've seen with the Spaniards so far. And this isn't me having a go at Hector Bellerin. And if he stays, I'll be behind him 100%. The problem is that I just feel that we have enough cover there. Now, we're going to discuss it later on tonight. And what you should do is that you should tune in at 8 o'clock this evening, UK time, to hear the thoughts of not 3, not 5, not 6, but 7 of our regulars spread across an hour and a half. Don't worry. It's not going to be a noise fest. It's not going to be all at the same time. We've got staggered starts. It's like a TGT festival. Except we don't release the lineup. That's about it. But if you want to hear the thoughts of Lee and French and Ola and Mike and Andy and John and Drew and Owen, hold on, that's 8. 8 people, not just 7, 8 guests that you've got coming on this evening. And make sure you tune in at 8 o'clock tonight. But in regards to the Hector Bellerin news, we should probably get some of your thoughts in the live chat onto the show. So let's go and have a look. I'm just seeing questions about Ozil suddenly popping up. Bulgarian Gooner, I'll go think Drago says, losing Bellerin isn't good. Bulgarian Gooner, in the chat box, tell me why you think it's not a good thing. Because for me, it just completely depends on if that money is reinvested. If Bellerin goes and we don't sign anyone to replace or strengthen the midfield in terms of a Partey, then yes, I'd question it and say no. It's not a good thing. How can it be a good thing? You've lost a good player and you've not strengthened anywhere else on the pitch. Christopher Fung says, wouldn't sell Bellerin for less than £35 million. I think we might struggle to get close to that, but we will see. And fingers crossed, we will see. Iron Cub says, it's simple in my opinion. The Arteta wants us to play. If players don't want to be here, we should just sell them. Marty P says, I think Bellerin's ceiling is reached and Mainsley will only get better. And Jack Perry has decided to sign up as a member. And thank you so much, Jack. And I should say a massive thank you to the 3 members that we had on yesterday, Rob, Carter and Ed, who are obviously part of the show, always getting involved in the live chats every single time we do one, as long as they're awake and alive and well. And they were fantastic yesterday. So if you haven't checked out yesterday's show, please make sure you do. Z Tom says, anything under 30 million wouldn't be good enough for Bellerin when you have cerebral Uberreich. I don't know what that means. After him. Tell me, enlighten me, Tom. What's your terminology there, mate? The seller holds the best cards in a bidding war. I'm sure it's some form of... it's going to be something that's really obvious to everyone except me what that terminology is, isn't it? It's one of those where I look like a complete naive chump. Gary Harley says, yes, but having good wing-backs and full-backs is key at this moment in football. It is. And I have a lot of faith in Mainsley, though. And I know that you would say I'm biased because I love the kid, but I just think that, and I think that there was a great summary of kind of Bellerin from, who was it that we missed, saying that he'd reached sort of his ceiling. I highlighted it a second ago. I will find it. I promise I'll find it. And I kind of agree with that comment that he's kind of reached his ceiling. And Mainsley has a long, long way still to develop. And I could see him if he makes that position his own. Because if you were thinking about him moving to Wolves, he wasn't moving to Wolves to be a centre midfielder. You look at Wolves' midfield, he wasn't moving there to be that. Doherty moved on to Spurs. And I think Wolves are pretty confident of getting Mainsley in. That's now not going to happen. And I think that he can see himself, his future probably lies in these wide fullback positions in more of an advanced wing-back type of role. And I look at him and I think he's getting England call-ups now. It's getting to the level where he's getting called up to the England team. No matter what you think of the England national side, to get called up into the side is still a big, big thing for a player like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. It really is. And there's so much potential in this kid, and I don't want to pass on it. I really, really don't. Regan Watson, thank you for the donation, mate. Really appreciate it, pal. He says, do you think Ainsley wants to be our number 1 right back? If he doesn't, I would question his ambitions. I really would, because Mainsley has to really look at what he wants to do. And if it's going to be playing in midfield, it isn't going to happen at Arsenal. But he could still achieve that playing for Arsenal in a right wing-back role, and even playing as sort of this utility player that can cover at left wing-back should we need it. And that could be something that comes into question into the new season. I'm really, really looking. Oh, no, Z Tom says, uber-rich clubs, my bad. I was thinking you were going all German then for some reason. Oh, that's really bad from my part. But, I mean, in terms, Mainsley, his future for me is at right wing back. I can't see him playing centre midfield for us. I can't see him going anywhere else to a top club and playing centre midfield there either. He has to specialise in that position because he's shown great potential there. And I have faith in him that he can really improve and show what he's about. And I'm fingers crossed we can see something. I know it means big, Ronald. I was just, it was the rich bit after that. It did not cross my mind what Tom was going on about there. Alex McCarthy says, if Arteta focuses on a 3-4-3, then having Bellerin, Mainsley and Cedric as wing-backs is too many. One will have to be sacrificed for the benefit of other areas. And I think you're spot on, Alex. You're 100% spot on with that. You can't have that many people on your payroll. You can't, when you're in a position where you need to invest by getting money in from player sales, have that many players. And I think it's important that one of them was moved on. It looked like it was going to be Mainsley originally going to Wolves, but it's now very clear that it's going to be Bellerin, the player, that does move on to probably PSG at this stage. There was rumours, Arseblog put up an article today, I don't know if you've seen it, about Barcelona registering their interest in him as well. But I think they've been put off by a price tag of over 25 million euros, which when you consider Barcelona, you think of Barcelona, this massive club spending all this money. The fact that now they're in a stage where 20 to 25 million euros prices them out of a player, it shows you the worrying times that are going on there at the old Camp Nou. ASN says, I think I saw that Bellerin's cross completion rate was 7%. That means he needs to put in 15 crosses before he finds a teammate. I don't know if he's good. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm really interested, though. I suppose we should kind of look and compare different players. We always like doing that on the show. So let's go, if we go into Wyscout and we have a look at Bellerin Let me get this up on the screen for you so that you can see it. Y Scout, good old trusty Y Scout. Hector Bellerin, stats, season 2019-20 in Premier League. This, all of them. And crosses, 27.5%. So it's not 7%. That whoever you got that from, that's a load of rubbish. It's more than that. I was about to say it's a lot more, but 27% crossing accuracy isn't a lot more, is it really? He's averaging just under 2 crosses per game. Let's look at his passing though, because it's important to talk about the final third kind of passing. 45% at passing accuracy into the box, 75% into that final third. Now, if we have a look at Maitland-Niles, remember those boys, remember those statistics there for Bellerin. If we have a look at Ainsley, obviously he's been playing in multiple positions. That's 2021. He's been playing in multiple positions, and that obviously means that crossing is going to be affected by that. But even then, it's a higher crossing percentage. 31.8% is higher than Bellerin's 27%. And if you're thinking about Bellerin being kind of at the peak of his powers, and Mainsley has still got all of this still to come, then that's only going to improve. He's only going to get better. Let's have a look at those passing stats as well. Passes into the box, 52.3%. It's higher than Bellerin's. Passes into the final third isn't. That's 65.3, and that's certainly something that he's going to have to focus on. Forward to backward passes is good. 81.8 passing accuracy overall is not bad. In terms of his dribbling, if we go to his attacking stats, looking at his dribbling, 53.1% of his dribbles are successful. You'd hope to see them a bit higher, but that's not bad. It really isn't. And making 1.81 progressive runs in a game is also pretty darn good too. Stop calling him Mainsley, says Ricky. No, is the answer to that one. It's Mainsley on the channel. If you tune in for TGT, you know his name. Let's get some hashtag Mainsleys going in the chat box this evening. Riga Watson says he has all the attributes and can cement a starting position at Arsenal. Mainsley, Saliba, Gabriel and Tierney is a starting defence for the next 2 to 3 years. I think even longer. 2 to 3 years, when you think about that, is quite a short period of time. Mainsley being, I think, 22, Saliba being 19, I think it is, Gabriel being 22, Tierney being 23. It's such a young, youthful backline that it solidifies. And if you can get them all down to similar contracts and making them long-term, we've got Gabriel for at least 5 years. We need to get Mainsley to sign a new deal. We need to get Saliba onto a new deal at the point of where he kind of has improved. I'm not talking about this season, probably not even next season. But if he proves himself this season, then you might see a Martinelli or Saka type situation where you suddenly do see a new deal for the Frenchman. And then you've got Kieran Tierney at left back, who's been here for his full season now. I think it was a 5-year deal that he signed, so he's got 4 years left, but you need to be looking to extend those with 1-year extensions, 2-year extensions, as soon as feasibly possible, because you just need to make sure these players stay at the club for the long term. And if they're going to move on, you need to make sure you've got a very good fee for him. Yes, hashtag Mainsley's in the chat. Mainsley is his real name. Loving this. See, the boys and girls know it in the chat. His name is Mainsley, and we love it that way. With Barcelona interest, can we get near 35 million, says LMJ? The answer is no, we can't, because Barcelona are actually being put off by a fee of around 25 million euros. They need to move on Nelson Semedo, probably maybe to a Wolves. You look at his agent being George Mendes. Could it be Wolves he goes to? We know the links with that club. I imagine it could possibly be somewhere else in Portugal, maybe Serie A as a possible destination. And if it comes to it, maybe returning back to Portugal. Either way, they need to move on the Portuguese right back before they have any chance of getting the money in to spend it on a Bellerin type player. I'm loving your support of the Mainsley, guys. Thanks. Iron Cub says, did you see the David Luiz injury news? We have the worst luck with centre-backs. I did. It's a big, big blow. I know people say their things about David Luiz, but I'm sorry, this guy's turned things around for us. He's turned things around for himself. He's had fantastic performances in the cup competitions, and that needed to be maintained into the new season. It would have enabled the likes of Gabriel and Saliba time to transition and adjust. And now we might see Gabriel or Saliba having more pressure on them than they originally would have done. And I'm not sure what that's going to mean. Are they going to be thrown at the deep end? It's all great seeing your new toy play, but at the end of the day, if they're not cut out straight away from the beginning and they need that time to adjust, it could cost us in those early games. So I am concerned about that. I'm hoping that they've got the mettle to come in and do it straight away. The other piece of news is that Lucas Torreira has supposedly seen interest from Fiorentina increase, and the intensity of it has certainly done so. And the new offer, if you're reading across some of your sources on social media today, is that there's a 10 million euro loan offer with a 20 million euro obligation to buy. Now, supposedly Torino's 24 million euro offer up front is still the most attractive offer because Arsenal need money to reinvest right now. But when you've got the opportunity to make a 30 million euro on a player, and some people suggest that you can spend that money effectively like you already have it because you know it's coming in, I'm kind of, what's the word? Reluctant to say that I think that's the case. I feel that clubs still need to balance their books each season, and spending money that is going to be obligated to be paid next year isn't necessarily okay. But I think this does present us with a situation where we can get a decent amount of money in for Torreira. I think I'm still leaning towards the Torino offer of those 24 million euros up front. And if anything, it should go to show and kind of prove to you that the club want to get the money up front rather than spending money that they don't necessarily have with the obligation. So things can go wrong, and you don't want that to happen, even if it's an obligation. And I dread to think what they are. But at the end of the day, Arsenal need money, and if it means selling Torreira for a decent fee, then it needs to be done as soon as possible so we can reinvest as soon as possible. It's a really tricky situation for Arsenal, what they've got themselves into with the finances, with how much they've spent in previous summers on players that just have not cut it. And now we really need to invest, and to do that, we've got to sell. And I feel like I repeat myself every single show, but it's the same rhetoric each time. Arsenal are going to have to sell if they want to reinvest. And that's why seeing both Partey and Aouar come in, I still see as a big, big stretch and quite unlikely. One of them coming in, I see as a real good opportunity. But both of them, I struggle to get behind that as a likely thing until we see some investment from other areas being player sales effectively. Ronnie says, Tom, are you excited for our first game in 3 days? We have the same team as last year, especially in midfield. How can us fans expect anything different? The club never seems to amaze me. I would say that there is more to be excited about. We've got more depth. We've got Willian coming in. You've got some youngsters that have developed more, the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe and Ketia. To a lesser extent, Joe Willock and Nelson, but not really as much. But then you've got Gabriel at centre-back. I'm really excited about the signing of Gabriel. I think it's a really, really good signing. We had to beat off a lot of competition to be able to get his signature. And to do that is important. I'm excited to see what Saliba can bring us this season. And I'm still thinking, Ronnie, that we're going to see one more big, big name come in before the end of the window. I might be wrong. It's just a feeling at the moment, but I just have that faith that we can actually bring in a Thomas Partey or an Aouar. It would be great. It would provide a lot of answers to questions to be waiting for a long, long time, and we really, really need that to come in ASAP. Gary Harley says, why loan with obligation to buy and not a structured transfer fee? I'm not sure, Gary. It's a question that I ask myself sometimes. Why don't they just agree to a 30 million permanent deal with 10 million euros being in the first season and 20 million euros being in the second season? I don't know. I don't know why. It must be something to do with the legal side of things. It must be to do with the certain sort of intricacies of the contract, possibly balancing books in certain seasons. I just don't know, Gary. There must be reasons behind it. Christopher Fung says, great article on The Athletic on the importance of left-footed centre-backs and how it helps to open up the attack, especially down the left. And now Arsenal have two in Gabriel, and of course with Pablo Mari, and even Kieran Tierney can play that if we play a back three. And you saw it work in the FA Cup final with how the ball being played in behind for Aubameyang got us 2 goals, one being the run which got to the penalty, and the other from Tierney. I know playing as kind of an advanced centre-back kind of drifted into that left back role there for the second goal, but it was still a player that was positioned in left centre-back that did that, and that was really important for that game. And I'm really glad that we've gone down the route of trying to play that, because we've, for so long, since Vermaelen left, we never really were able to play with it. It was Koscielny and Per Mertesacker, and then it was Socrates, and then it was Mustafi. And we failed to have a left-footed centre-back for so long, but now we've got two that I genuinely believe are good players. I like Mari a lot. I think that he's gone completely under the radar because of his injury, and I still think there is an opportunity for Mari, however you want to pronounce it, at the club for sure. I feel like I've missed a super chat. I have. Regan. Thank you, Regan. You've been very, very generous this evening. Sell Torreira and Bellerin for 50 million euros and then pay for Partey. If Emi leaves, would Areola on loan be a good backup keeper? What's with Luiz? Not seeing it. Luiz is going to be out for a few weeks, it seems, possibly even up to 6, if you believe the latest information. Areola on loan looks less likely now. He's going to be off to Fulham. That's the most concrete information regarding Areola. Arsenal want David Raya, but I actually spoke with, and I know a lot of people have been asking for a tactical breakdown on David Raya. I'm reluctant to do one at the moment, and in fact, what I will do is I text a friend of mine who's in at Brentford. Let me scroll down. Where is it? Good old Billy. Billy Brentford, who was the guy who came on to the tactical breakdown when we did Ben Rama, which you may have watched. It was a while back, but Billy, who helped us out with this video, I texted him about David Raya. He says he's put in a few calls, and he says we're a much smaller club than Arsenal, so our key persons information network is a lot stronger, and we get a lot of very accurate information from the right sources. And 100%, he is not for sale this window on David Raya. He's a huge part of our plans this season, as promotion is the aim, and if we get promoted, he will be worth even more. We did the same with Chris Mepham, turned down 10 million from Bournemouth in one window, knowing they would come back in the next, sold him for 15 million pounds. The only way we will sell is if someone comes in with a ridiculous, spelt in capitals, offer that we can't say no to. I can't see Arsenal doing that. We've just sold Watkins for 28 million pounds plus, and Saeed Benrahma will probably go for around 20 million plus as well. So that's nearly 50 million in. We bought Ollie's replacement for 6 million pounds, and we still have money left over for last summer. Yes, Corona's hit us, but we don't need to sell, unlike other championship clubs who spend absolutely silly money. So if anything, you are actually a season ahead of us. Saeed is 100% for sale this summer. And I know it's not a position we need, but for 20 million quid, Saeed Benrahma seems like a bit of a steal. Whereas he wasn't last season, and Arsenal should be looking at him now. They would get him for around 20 million pounds, I'm sure. Now, I counter back and I was like, I've heard some whispers about there being a 50 million pound kind of break that Brentford might be interested in. And I also put forward the point that David Raya could and is open to this Arsenal move. And if he is open to the Arsenal move, that could force through a deal, but we just don't know. But he basically said that that's superstition at this point. We don't want to sell and we don't need the money. So, yeah, there you go. In regards to the information regarding David Raya, it's probably not going to happen in that sense. And it would really impact on how we would sell Emi Martinez, because we need to bring in a replacement. Matt Macy is not good enough to be the number 2 for Arsenal. I'm sorry. It's not a slight on him. Personally, it's just in terms of his quality. I just don't see him as an honest second goalkeeper for Arsenal. We need to replace Martinez if we sell him, or we just don't sell him. Because if you've got someone who's as good as your first goalkeeper and you've got a problem in who you pick, it's a really nice problem to have. And I'm kind of leaning in that direction. That is where we are going to wrap things up this evening for just now. Because I should say that at 8 o'clock, if you weren't tuning in slightly earlier on the show, 8 o'clock till 9:30, bumper TGT season preview podcast. 8 guests will be on, staggered across the hour and a half. So if you want to tune in at 8 to get all your Arsenal information ahead of the new season, that is where it's going to be. We've got judges, we've got French, we've got Ola, we've got John, we've got Drew, we've got Owen, we've got Mike, we've got Andy. We've got so many people coming on this evening to give their thoughts about the season preview. If you can't wait till then, check out yesterday's show I did with some of my expert members. Thank you, members. Every time you tune in, you really help us out. And honestly, some of the stuff you've done has enabled some special things to start taking place in my life personally, which I'm hoping to be able to talk a lot more about very, very soon. But yeah, I can't really put into words how thankful I am for you guys being here and supporting the channel and helping it grow to what I hopefully plan it to be one day. So yeah, it's really loving, and I hope you enjoyed that the mid-roll credits video was a little bit quieter. I've tried to turn it down. I've used some software to do it. I don't know if it was quieter. Let me know in the chat box if it felt quieter or it seemed quieter. If it didn't, I'll try and turn it down some more, but it's quite a tricky process because the file that you get sent is in its pure form. So it is what it is. I tried to do my best with that one, so I'm hoping that you appreciate that as well. I'll see you again at 8 o'clock tonight, UK time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you as it always is, and as always. up the Arsenal.